What are nihilistic Acheron's biggest pros and cons? That's what I'm here to tell you today. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. First things first, I've got to talk about how wildly powerful Acheron is as a DPS. Yes, one of his character's pros is literally the sheer amount of DPS she's capable of dealing. Her numbers are far ahead of a majority of the competition right now, ranking as one of the best DPSs in the game. Her numbers are absolutely more than worthy of being considered good enough to take on every single endgame mode. I have nothing but good things to say about her damage output. If you're in need of a strong main DPS, then yes, Acheron will set you on the right path. Trust me, you will not be disappointed by her damage output. Acheron is clearly a unit who was designed with being able to take on multiple endgame modes in mind, because she's able to effectively handle every single mode that we have right now. MOC, her absolute status quo. She'll handle all sorts of mobs just fine here. Whether they be elite enemies or bosses, her Blade of Nihility shall be able to conquer them all. Blade mentioned? Anyways, moving on to pure fiction. Despite being a Nihility DPS, her ult is very erudition-like in the sense that it is able to effectively deal with a large group of enemies all at once. Generating enough ult stacks here isn't too much of a problem either, as there are multiple teammate options which assist Acheron in pure fiction, such as Jiao Cho or an E1 S1 Black Swan. You'll find her to be a most pleasant pure fiction DPS, even if you're only operating with 4-star teammates. As for Apocalyptic Shadow, there's no task too tall to ask of this supposed Galaxy Ranger. She can ignore any weakness type when in her ult form, and considering that the game mode begs you to slash down the weakness bars of your foes, Acheron ends up being perfectly suited to take on this type of content. AoE, bosses, trash mobs, you name it, they're Acheron's already dead targets, my friend, as long as you have enough Nihility teammates. Speaking of which, it is incredibly easy to form so many different types of teams for her, from cheap free-to-play teams to mid-tier investment comps, right up to some heavy investment premium teams, or shoot, even sustainless options. There is a team for every type of player when it comes to this impressive character. For example, you only have 4-star options to your name? Then a team of Acheron, Gwenathan, Pella, and Gallagher will suit all your endgame clearing needs just fine. Or maybe you can go a little costlier than that. Then why not take the nihilistic one, her dance partner, Pella and Aventurine for a spin? Or perhaps you want to go all in, having pulled for her premium support, meaning that you can go for Acheron, Jiao Cho, Black Swan, and Aventurine. Or if sustainless is more of your style, then why not avert your gaze to the 100% true and real Galaxy Ranger, Sparkle, Welt, and Pella. You get the idea at this stage. This character has an unbelievably large roster of teammates. I didn't even touch on the team that I personally use her in, that being Calf Swankaron, a team where you fuse her with the 2 dot ladies. This makes her incredibly adaptable to any situation, while allowing any account at any stage of progression to build a competent Acheron team. This is a double-edged Nihility blade, however. I'll touch on that soon. Her vertical investment, or in simpler terms, stellar Jades-based investment, is also nothing to sneeze at. First off, let's take a look at her light cone. This is such an unfathomably large increase over her 4-star cones that it's unreal. Namely because of one thing: slashed dream stack generation. The stats the cone provides are also excellent, of course, but the main reason as to why this is such a boon to your output is because you're able to cast more of Acheron's gargantuan ults. There are some other 5-star light cones that are capable of achieving this, such as Patience is All You Need and Silver Wolf's Signature. They aren't even that far behind passing shore in terms of DPS output because of a stack generation, since those cones are able to provide her with a source of applying a debuff upon hit. That also means you're able to recycle those 2 cones and breathe new life into them by allowing your Acheron to hold them, because if you bench those older units due to power creep, that doesn't suddenly mean their main light cones that you might have are suddenly useless. Then we must look at that E2 of hers. Holy cow. Her request to have 2 Nihilities in her team is a valid one, because it is indeed a big boost to her damage output, but by reducing the number you need by 1, you're able to use one of the Broken Harmonies to support her instead. Dang, even Hoyo themselves know how strong the Broken Harmonies are. This allows you to be even more flexible with her teams, which is kinda crazy since they were already so nice and easy to set up. It also means that you can better utilize Broken Eidolons on set harmonies, such as Robin Z1. The fun just never ends, does it? it. Essentially, if you already own an E0 S0 Acheroni Macaroni and we're thinking about bringing her to the next level power-wise, yes, you absolutely can achieve that next level breakthrough by acquiring her main Lycone plus her E2. This is some seriously impressive next level stellar Jades based investment here. Another wondrous aspect when it comes to this gift that keeps on giving that I mentioned earlier is that her ult ignores weakness types. Yep, the top brass at Hoyoverse really all came together and decided, let's make the most fantastic DPS conceivable, huh? Pulling for her doesn't mean that you're only pulling for DPS that can handle electric weak situations. Oh, no. Any task when it comes to the battlefield can be checked off by her. She says, I weep for the departed, because the departed in question are the enemies that she's about to fry on the grill like a hamburger. This only furthers her case when it comes to game mode flexibility. Good on you, Acheron. Even though she has all of these positive qualities, there are some unfortunate negatives that we should discuss in regards to everybody's favorite forgetful lady. Here's the double-edged blade that I was talking about when it comes to her teams. At E0, if you don't happen to have Jiaoqiu or other good nihilities for her, you might have to use somebody like Sampo, who doesn't really offer her anything that good in particular. And while you can indeed use somebody like Sparkle or Robin, whose buffs can indeed contest against fully filling out Acheron's Nihility passive, it's not like Vape Linny from Genshin where using Farina over a third Pyro is literally always better. It'd be more ideal if you could form a team like Jiaoqiu with Pella, for example. To be frank, this does not apply to E2 players, it's specifically something that affects E0 to 1 folks. And because Nihility before Acheron has always been a DOT path, with very few actual debuffers existing, finding the right teammates can be annoying. If you have Jiaoqiu and Pella, then this isn't a big deal, but considering that a lot of people skipped Jiaoqiu for other upcoming units, I'd presume that not a lot of you could form that core. If you can, then happy days. Another major issue of Acheron is that her damage weeps for the departed if you don't own any debuff applying light cones for her, which as of now is only available through 5-star light cones. There's her signature, which allows Acheroni Macaroni to apply debuff on her own turn. This is huge as it allows her to build up Slashed Dream Stack super effectively. Otherwise, you can use the likes of Kafka's or Silverwolf's light cones to achieve the same effect. Any other cone? Well, less stacks equals less ults, which naturally means less DPS, like a lot less. Unless we get another Nihility teammate in the future who can apply debuffs when she has her turn, having a 5-star light cone for this unit that can apply debuffs will remain as a major boon to her DPS. Another problem I have is that power creep in this game is fairly inevitable. Think about it like this. Jingliu was one of the game's top carries right up until her rerun, in which she had already been power crept by Acheron. She would only continue to be crept by newer units as time went on. I would not be surprised if, by the time Acheron finally comes back, she quickly gets power crept in the 3.x era's meta. I wouldn't be completely deterred by this, however, as she is a super popular character. She's also a Honkai Impact 3rd XP, which is one of Hoyoverse's oldest and most beloved characters. Jiaoqiu shows me that Hoyo isn't going to give up on buffing her teams anytime soon because of that. I would not be surprised if she was one of the few DPSs who they always try to keep up to date due to her plot relevancy and XP status. However, I want to wait until her second rerun before I fully believe that to be true, because that will happen somewhere during the middle or latter half of the 3.x patches, right? So I want to wait and see how she fares against newer DPSs. Not to mention that things have already started to take somewhat of a turn, with the likes of Fei Xiao being the current best DPS in the game. She is a DPS at the end of the day, and those are far more likely to experience being power crept than other kinds of units. I don't think this is going to be as big of a problem compared to other DPSs in the future, because of how many fans she has, but I would still be wary of the previous trend that occurred with Jingliu. So, is Acheron really still worth it? In my opinion, her damage will always be competent enough to clear the current endgame for at least the next year or so. I don't think that she'd immediately fall off the second that new competition arises. Even when we talk about Jingliu, she can still clear Ice Week MOCs and Apocalyptic Shadows with relative ease. And because the Electric Lady can ignore weaknesses altogether, you can throw her up against any piece of endgame content and she'll do well. There is a clear stellar Jades-based investment path that you can go down, and while I'm hesitant to call a DPS character future-proof, I think that if she ever does end up falling from grace, it will be more of a gentle descent as opposed to being a head-splitting crash on the ground. I don't think the cons outweigh the pros of owning her. Expanding your DPS roster in a game where multiple endgame modes demand different types of characters is essentially never a bad thing. I would also say that if you're interested in Fuguei, and maybe considering Acheron, you're in luck. I would assume that you will potentially have some form of synergy with her, so even if you feel like this nihilistic lady has been falling off in recent times, we have a potential new teammate for her to look forward to. Even if Fuguei's mechanics might not end up being strictly debuff related when they're revealed, I heavily doubt that she would not work with a revived Foxian whatsoever. After all, both Sampo and Black Swan are DOT units, but they still technically work with Acheron. E2 players can also set their sights on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be better than Robin for her, but he's a 5-star Harmony character, so I have a difficult time believing that his kit won't be utterly busted in every way, shape, and form. If you already have E0, S0, I do think that investing more into her is still a wise choice. After all, even if her DPS may fall off, Harmonies over time will only ever become stronger and stronger, which means that it will be easier for you to have your Electric Lady keep up with the times, dealing modern amounts of damage no matter the weather. Is she skippable? By technicality, sure, but it's so useful to have her on a Star Rail account that I have a difficult time recommending that you skip her, even if other DPSs may be outdamaging her when they reach their peaks. Acheron has a fantastic level of consistency, and will manage to deliver no matter your game mode. I think she's an utterly superb unit, even to this day, and if you have faith in her future, then I would wholeheartedly recommend that you invest your Stellar Jades on her upcoming banner. Hopefully this video was able to tell you Acheron's biggest pros and cons. This has been Juice, signing out, and can somebody tell me why she eats peaches? She literally can't taste anything due to Nihility's curse. Is this like a Xiao almond tofu situation?